Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, then a big huge welcome to you. This is my 10th time recording this introduction, which is not good, Naughty says. But, oh well, never mind. I won't be filming this introduction for long because I wanted to explain to you guys what I am doing with a video that is coming your way very soon. What I am about to show you is a very special vlog that I sent to the National Autistic Society's policy department in response to give my own feedback into an inquiry focusing on the Autism Act. This video is not just talking about my experiences, but it's also talking about some experiences that I've heard through other people and through the media as well. I tried to include as much information as I could, but because I didn't have really much time and there were some bits that I felt uncomfortable talking about, I thought I would just cut it down. So I had to cut about 50% of the material, but hopefully this will be okay for you guys to watch. And this video will contain some little bits of information that can be upsetting to some viewers, and it's not really that long, but if you are worried by it, then there's some helplines that I will include in the description box down below. So if you have like any worries or any problems, then you can always contact these helplines at any single time. And here we are onto the video. Hello, my name is Ses Francis and I am an autism advocate and an autistic vlogger, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my experience and sharing with you my own opinions on how the Autism Act has changed from 10 years ago when it was passed through Parliament all the way up to now. So when I looked at the Autism Act, I found that there were very interesting aims to which what the law was supposed to be for. So the Autistic Act's name is to focus on the needs and services for adults on the autistic spectrum in England, to improve support and services to autistic adults, and to produce and regularly review an autism strategy to meet the needs of autistic adults. It really hasn't done that, and I know this is, I really sound frustrated with this because I know that this is something that a lot of people I know don't really want to imagine something like this, because it can be something that if an act was there, then it's not really working out, which can be a really big nightmare. But with the Autism Act, that is the case. There have been some bits where they're changed, but I'm not really going to go into them because they're only small bits of detail, because to be honest, I think between 80 and 95% of the Act that was promised with the aims, it's not really doing that well. It's not that great. And the reason why it's not that great is that the law isn't really strong enough to meet those aims. And there's something about it that some people tend to ignore. And what they do instead is that they tend to do things that some people on the autistic spectrum face every day. So it's kind of like, even though the Act is in place, it's kind of like it was never really in place and everything is back to square one. And that put a massive strain on the individuals themselves and on their friends and family, which is something that really shouldn't happen, but unfortunately it's still happening. And I've heard so many stories and I've had so many experiences from different individuals, my friends and some members of my family, and including myself. We have all been discriminated, we've all been in situations where we've all felt a bit stressed and worried. The people who have been around us haven't really given the additional support on the needs that we really require, which can lead to a lot of frustration, a lot of disappointment, and a lot of anger too. There have been similar cases in the news recently as well, and they have been popping up everywhere, especially during World Autism Awareness Week, which happened this year. And this is a really shocking thing because there are so many places and so many situations that people go through, and it was something that people would never suspect, but it still happens. But it's not not discrimination that's overclouding the Autism Act. There are so many places and so many reasons why the Act is being under a thick cloud, and these things are still continuing. And a few examples I can give to us are the educational facilities. Students on the spectrum are not getting the right facilities and the right needs that they really need from the school faculty, head teachers or teachers, and they leave students in the most appalling and horrendous positions. And there was one story that I heard last week on the Victoria Derbyshire show, and there was one case that a child was not only getting severely bullied, but all her needs and requirements and the support that she really needed was taken away from her, and because of this she almost committed suicide. Conditions in supported living. I know so many friends who went into supported living, and all of them have said to me from their own experiences that they were so poor. They were badly treated, which made them feel really insecure and really uncomfortable. And these stories include having a lack of information, especially if they are going outside of their houses to go to work in supported living, to emergency services, because one of my friends really hurted herself on the radiator, but the staff did nothing about it. And there was one story from one of my friends that the supported living services got so bad that his parents had to step in, but unfortunately the team at his supported living centre just turned his parents away, say that they are too anxious, which is really bad really, considering that the parents were supposed to be there in case one of my friends or any other individuals in supported living care had choices to know what support they need and what they're entitled to. It's really shocking because when you think of supported living care, you think that they're supposed to be for that person and they're supposed to be there for their families, but from the experiences I've heard, they weren't very positive and they were very disappointed, which I can personally understand. And another thing to point out, which I have said before, discrimination. But the discrimination I'm touching on is discrimination in the workplace, or in my case, discriminating when you are preparing for an interview. 15% of people on the autistic spectrum are in full-time employment, and it is really tricky just to get into employment because some people are finding it really difficult, and there's so many reasons behind all of this. But there was one incident that I went for a job interview because whilst I was looking for work, I had one opportunity just to go there for an interview to be a teaching assistant at a specialist school. But unfortunately, when I got there, I was treated so badly. I was waiting just for an interview. Instead, I was left in their reception for about 2 hours, not being offered a drink or anything. But when the school janitor actually came up to me, I told him I didn't have any drink. He went back and he gave me one, which stunk like coffee. It wasn't cleaned and it wasn't really that great. And then I just left in the huff. But then when I came the second time just to get a proper interview, they discriminated me just by putting me in a position that they thought I would be comfortable in. And I did tell them that I had a degree and they know they were discriminating me, but they were like, no, we're going to put you there, that's the end of the story. And they thought that my needs weren't really suitable for working in a specialist school environment. It left me really scarred, and it made me feel uncomfortable to find work within 6 months. This sort of thing can happen to anybody, whether they're in the workplace or maybe just preparing for an interview. And finally, individuals in mental health institutions or going to mental health services. Again, something I have experienced and things that one of my friends has experienced. And also, the mental health institutions have been on the news a lot last year and this year. And this is the thing that's really shocked people the most. But there are more things behind the scenes that people don't really realise about. Children, teenagers and adults on the spectrum are being placed into services and institutions that are inappropriate. And for me, for example, I went into one service that I was promised that I was given the right needs to, but unfortunately the people behind it really didn't want me to have that, and instead they put me into another service. For them, that was a person that is suitable for that person who is autistic, and that was really poor because I haven't really thought about suicide thoughts, and I would never do that really. And this was a really quite shocking thing, because autism is not a condition where you can actually commit suicide about. Sure, it is a condition, but it's not in a condition in that way. It's in a different thing. And to put someone on the autistic spectrum in a service like that, that's just really poor. But the institutions are much, much worse, because when an individual is going into institutions, sometimes they could be moved around into different places and they would be away from their friends and family, and sometimes their family has to travel about 50 to 100 miles just to see the individuals, and it makes it quite difficult for them because the families don't really have the money just to come down and see them. And with these changes, it will become more difficult just for the individual to get support that is really needed. All the stories I have heard and I have told you are proof that the law is still being broken, and some people are not following the law, and breaking the law is a criminal offence. But for some reason with the Autism Act, people are allowed to get away with it, which is really, really disgusting. And I am so not happy with this. This has been going on long enough, and I feel that the changes need to be made, and soon. And here are changes that me and my family personally want to see happen when the review has come into place into Parliament. And these things include appropriate support for all individuals on the autistic spectrum. So appropriate support meaning services that are suitable to their need, proper facilities, extra help to try find getting jobs, and proper communication and proper one-to-one support within supported living care centres and supported living housing as well. Me and my family would also like to see people who are trained to understand and support individuals on the autistic spectrum. It's really important for people to understand what individuals on the autistic spectrum are going through, because there are some things that can be very challenging, and if they can get services like that, that will be fantastic. Me and my family would also like to see large organisations to keep a register on how many people they employ with autism. And also, there is another act that I would really, really like Parliament to have a look at and have a comparison between that act and the Autism Act, and that is the Accessible Information Act. There's a lot of things with that act that Parliament can use which can have a connection to the Autism Act, especially clear information and clear communication. And lastly, we would like to see the National Health Service to talk to individuals on the autistic spectrum and seek consent from them before the right services can be provided to them. And if they can change that, that will be really, really great, and it will save a lot of stress and a lot of burden for all individuals and for all families. So that is all I have to say on this one. And I know that some of my feedback doesn't make any sense, but I really want to get it out there because I know that so many millions of people's voices are being unheard. And it's very important just to recognise that no one has to suffer in silence. And I hope that, fingers crossed, that everything will change in the future for the Autism Act. And what will happen in the next 10 years? Who knows? But I'm really having my high hopes for the Autism Act in the future.